So hi guys, and welcome back to class. Today, we are going to be analyzing the use of pronouns. So to refresh your memory, if you don't know what a pronoun is a word that can function by itself as a noun phrase, and it refers to either a participant in the discourse. So for example, a pronoun would be the word I or you. Or it could be that you're referring to someone or something mentioned elsewhere, such as she, it, or he, or this, or them. All of those are pronouns. So now what I want you guys to do is I want you to go into the poems that we read yesterday, Flanders Fields and Decorum d'Est, and I want you to find the pronouns. So when I look at this stanza inside of Flanders Fields, it says, "Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw." You is a pronoun. So all you're going to be doing is locating the pronouns in the two poems that we read yesterday. When the poem includes the word you, who might the speaker be referring to? Remember that these poems were written during World War I. Why do you think the speaker refers to the reader directly as you? Looking at our content framing question, we're in our reveal stage. What does a deeper exploration of modes of address reveal? So an address is to speak or write to. Add this to your vocabulary journal and read aloud the content framing question. So, what different modes or styles can you use to address another person? A mode of address is a literary term that refers to the relationship constructed between the addresser, which is the person who's talking, and to the addressee, the person who they're talking to in a text. It's the style that a text speaker uses to speak to the audience and involve them in the text. So let's take a look at some mode of addresses. So an example of a mode of address would be, what is the difference between addressing an email, "Dear Mrs. Gonzalez," and addressing it as, "Hey teacher"? How would it affect the addressee's reading of the email? Me as a teacher, if I saw "Dear Ms.Ward," I would see that as more respectful. But if I said, "Hey teacher," I might see that as maybe a little disrespectful. So the way that I address someone is my mode of address. And you can also understand that the way that someone addresses you can convey its attitude or your attitude. So just for an example, when I said "Dear Ms. Ward" or "Hey teacher," this gives the reader different attitudes about different things. So just like we have mode of addresses in letters that we may write, we have mode of addresses in writing. And it is going to convey an attitude towards the war. And that's going to affect the reader differently depending on how it was addressed. So one thing that we cannot do is we cannot guess or speculate on the attitude of each poet and how they felt about the war. However, it is clear that the speakers in each of the poems convey a specific attitude toward the war. They feel a certain way about the war based on the poems. So now I want you to reread the poems, and I want you to annotate for lines that show their attitude towards the war. So for example, in Flanders Fields, it says, "In Flanders Fields, the poppies blow." A poppy is like a plant, and it's blowing, but it's blowing between the crosses, row on row. When I think of crosses, I think of like religion. So maybe this is like some sort of like cemetery that mark our place in the sky. The larks, still bravely singing, fly. Scarce heard. So if something is scarcely heard, it means there's nothing there to hear amid the guns below. So if the guns are shooting off and there's nothing to be heard, that means that there's nothing but death and despair here. So to me, the mode of address here, the way that they're addressing and their attitudes that they have towards the war is sorrowful or despair or pain. They don't feel like they don't feel like the war is a good place or safe place. That's their attitude towards the war. So you're going to continue to do that in your reading. And then think, what connotations do the examples from In Flanders Fields share with dulce et decorum? What adjectives would you use to describe each connotation? If you don't remember what a connotation is, either look it up or it should be in your notes. Now we're going to create a T-chart. And I want you to elaborate on your annotations of how people felt and record your evidence about the attitudes about war. So in Flanders Fields, there's a line that says, "Fighting in war is brave, like the larks who fly above the guns. Soldiers at war have life before they died. They loved and were loved. War does not have horrific consequences. Dying at war is a failing, but it is only bad if those who are alive do not join the fight." So what's the attitude here? What's the attitude here? These lines are telling me their attitudes. So you're going to write the attitude next to it. So for example, this one's saying, so first you're going to find the line that shows the attitude, and then you're going to tell me what attitude that is. So here it says, dying at war is a failing. So basically they're saying if you died there, you've basically failed. But it's only bad if those who were alive do not join the fight. So here, the attitude towards the war is that soldiers should join. That it is their duty to fight in the war. That's what this line tells me. This tells me that they believe that soldiers should fight in the war, because they're basically telling me that it's not bad that if you die, that's going to be bad, but it's worse if you were alive and you didn't join the war, if you didn't fight. So what are some important elements of oral expression and poetry? How did you read? How did your reading aloud emphasize the modes of address and affect the tone of each poem? So now we're going to analyze the modes of address. Where is there a shift in the mode of address in Flanders Fields? Highlight the line. How does that shift in the mode of address develop the meaning? Where's the shift of mode of address in dulce et decorum? And how does the shift in the mode of address develop the meaning? How does each poem contain a direct address to the audience? And how does the mode of address in each poem reveal the poem's attitude? To end this lesson, now that we've looked at modes of address, of how we've looked at lines that tell us about how the person feels about a particular topic, what does the mode of addresses that you found reveal? Which poem's mode of address is more effective in developing the poem's attitude towards the war, and why? For your homework, you're going to read pages 169 through 185, from In the Room Behind the Table to I Ought Never to Have Come on Leave. And you're going to annotate for Paul's emotional responses to the final incidents on leave. So you're going to annotate for how Paul feels in these pages. All right, that's going to be it for today. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.